tell you, it's cold out there. And what better way to warm up than to come inside our Brilliant Labs workshop, take a look at our festive decorations, and realize we have to do something to 1, stay warm, and 2, remain stylish in the festive way that Brilliant Labs can. So, as we get geared up to stay warm out there during this holiday season, let's see if we can take our normal holiday winter garb and turn it into something a little more brilliant. Let's do it. So for this quick project, I took a look at the shopping mall, and all of the stores have all these festive articles of clothing, from sweaters to hats. And I grabbed this toque and I thought, you know, there are many classrooms out there that could take a toque or a holiday sweater and integrate some of the Adafruit wearable electronics platforms that are so popular here at Brilliant Labs. And I'm going to do that now. So my plan is, looking at this toque, is to simply light up the tree. And as you can see here, I'm not sure if you can see, but it has 1, 2, 3, and 4 lights that we're going to integrate some NeoPixels into the hat. And just to make it a little more interesting, we're going to see if we can add in the accelerometer so that when I shake the big noggin that I have here, it's going to light up those NeoPixels across the hat, and we'll have something a little more brilliant to walk the streets of Fredericton with. Now luckily, a lot of the dirty work as far as the coding is already done. If you want to log on to the Adafruit website, if you haven't been there before, we really encourage you to check out some of the learning content that they have there, and just follow this website that we've linked in this tutorial below. The Adafruit Flora is the perfect Arduino-enabled microcontroller to make this hat come to life, and we should be able to sew it in just tuck it underneath the brim of the toque and to light up the NeoPixels there. We're going to use a few accessories from the Adafruit wearable electronics platform, including their Flora, their accelerometer, 4 individually addressable NeoPixels that respond to red, green, and blue color code, a portable AAA battery pack, some batteries, and lots of conventional sewing supplies. Alright, so I'm ready to prototype our circuit here. Let's zoom in and take a look at the work surface. Now, I don't know about you, but when I plan a project, I like to draw out the circuit diagram and the flow of electricity and the data and things like that. So let's prototype our circuit by drawing out a quick design for the Brilliant Lab Holiday Toque. Should probably put an S on there. I also didn't realize that there were so many spelling variations for toque. I should have known. So here we are, a rough sketch of the holiday tree on the toque. Alright, now that we have that design drawn, we're going to start by placing the LEDs where the ornaments are on the toque. Now originally, when we were planning out this project, we wanted to make the toque responsive by adding an accelerometer and copying the script, the Arduino program that was found at learn.adafruit.com, where they created a sparkle skirt that's very similar to the goal of this project. Now, one of the things that we really want to do is take some time and lay out our LEDs, because they have 4 copper wiring hookups that we're ultimately going to have to connect back to the Flora. So let's take a closer look at how those are going to be hooked up into the Flora with conductive thread. The 4 NeoPixels that we are using are a little different than the ones that are wired all together in a strip. The ones in a strip, you only have to connect the initial LED, the first one in the strip, and then everything is connected. These are a little more delicate because they are individual, and you are going to have to sew with conductive thread from the Flora to the first NeoPixel, and then on to the second one and the second one. Now, if you notice, there are 4 copper conductive pads on each of the LEDs, one for positive, one for negative, one for data in, and one for data out. What you're going to need to make sure that you do is connect all of the negatives together, all of the positives together, and then making sure with conductive thread that your data runs into the initial LED, and then cutting the thread out from the initial LED into the data in on the second LED, and cutting the thread out from the second LED into the data connection on the third LED, and so on and so forth. So from the Flora to the first one, cut the thread.
From the first one to the second one, cut the thread. From the second one to the third one, cut the threads. And you get the picture. So let's get into the sewing, and as you can see on the video, we've already started to use our conductive thread and just a normal needle and sew in the NeoPixels onto the toque where we would like them. Now, a couple of pointers as you are using the conductive thread. It is very springy. You want to test it maybe on a different piece of fabric, a scrap piece of fabric, before you start sewing it into your final product. One of the things that I'm not showing you as I'm sewing in these LEDs is that I had to think about my conductive thread placement, because where there are 4 strands of conductive thread going to each of the LEDs, it was very important that I didn't have any short circuiting happen where one of the data ins may be crossing with a power, or one of the data outs is crossing with the grounds. And of course, if that happens, then one of the LEDs will not light up, or all of them will not light up, and you might even get a short circuit that is strong enough to cause a little bit of burnout and melt one of your pieces of conductive thread, which has happened before. I was lucky because this toque is so thick. I was able to run one strand through the middle, another strand on top, another strand on the bottom of the toque, and then another one just off to the side. The circuit pathway that I'm drawing here is a pointer that you should take into consideration, because when you're hooking up your controller, your microcontroller, to your series of LEDs, you're going to realize that at some point you're going to have to jump one piece of conductive thread with another piece of conductive thread. What you can do is you can use the fabric of your garment that you are sewing as the insulator to keep the strands of conductive thread safe and carrying a charge without short circuiting. Happy sewing!
Welcome back. Hope you learned a little bit about how to prototype circuits, wearable electronics, and creating your very own festive electronic toque. While we were prototyping this circuit, snow was falling outside of Brilliant Lab Studio, so for the sake of safety and time, we had to take a few shortcuts when we were designing our end products. I did not have time to sew in the accelerometer. As well, one of the 4 LEDs, as you can see, is a little angry. This may be because I was testing the toque outside while I was shoveling snow. So I apologize for the state of this project, but as we know in manufacturing and fabrication, this is very much just toque version 1.0. Perhaps in 2.0, everything will work and it will become responsive. But the main thing, will it make me look brilliantly festive when I put it on? What do you think? Happy holidays from Brilliant Labs. We'll see you in the new year. I really love how festive this hat is. You can walk into one of your holiday parties over the break and everyone's looking at your hat and you just say, yes, that's right, I have a